and welcome. I'm Eloise and we're from Flowers by AG, and I want to say a massive thank you and welcome to our Christmas Wreath virtual workshop.
Now then, let's get started. So as you can see here, we have our straw wreath, our spruce, and some other materials that you will find in your box. So we have some gorgeous skimmia, which is the reddy colour in our traditional design, complemented with some lovely tree ivy foliage. Now this is our spruce, as I showed you, which comes over from Holland. And we shall be attaching all to our straw wreath that you will all find in your kits as well. Now then, first things first, as you can see here, is I'm going to show you how to attach your reel wire to the wreath ring. You need to pick up your reel wire and then begin to take a short piece out, and we want to lay that underneath the wreath ring. Now take the loose end up along with the attached end to the reel and twist them on one another. So you're now twisting, as you can see here, and twist, I would say, sort of 3 to 4 times just to make sure it's really, really secure. Once you've done that, you can now see that I can pull the weight of the wreath and it will not move on the wire. So now I'm just going to tuck the reel wire into the straw so that it doesn't damage any doors or anything that the wreath is going to attach to. I always find that working with the wreaths, I work anti-clockwise, just so that we can continually cover up stems as we go, and it's all about hiding those mechanics as well. Now I'm going to start here by using some spruce. As you can see, I've got some different sizes, and we've got some that have the more hand shapes where you've got the 3 points on, and you've got the longer pieces. These are absolutely fine to use together. Now what we're going to do is start by attaching the first bundle on. I've layered a couple of pieces of spruce together, and I've done the smaller piece on the inside and the large piece on the outside to create that fan effect. Now we bind round 3 times as a minimum, I would say, and pulling really, really tight as you go. You will create this fan effect all the way round, and we just want to make sure that everything is really secure and really sort of well attached by continually binding. Now I've moved on to my ivy. So as you can see here, we've got another bundle that we're going to use on the outside, as it's quite a full bundle. So once again, doing the same technique again, continuing always with that one reel wire as we go around. I'm now going to place this ivy on the outside to continue this fan effect that we have. So once again, you can just see we've popped the first piece on, and now we're continually binding around just to make sure it's really secure. Now the trick with this is when I place my ivy on, I layered it over the stems of the spruce, so that as we continually move all the way around the wreath, you're always hiding your previous mechanics on your stems. So as we now add this third piece of spruce on, it's covering the stems of the ivy. And you can see here where we've sort of got different shapes going through. I'm now placing these spruce on the inside to make sure that we hide the inside of the frame, but also so that we get that lovely ruffled effect all the way around on the wreath. Now add your bind wire over the top again. Once again, pull it really, really tight because you want to make sure that that's not going to go anywhere when it's on your front door. Now I'm picking up some more tree ivy to do the same repetition again. With regards to your patterns, you can create it however you like. You can see here that all the way through this design I will do a natural pattern of sort of mixed foliages all the way through. Some like to do one pattern per area. It's completely down to you. The design is completely your choice. So I've made my bundle of tree ivy. I'm now going to overlay this against the last bunch of spruce's stems, just so that we're hiding those mechanics, bind on securely, and we're there. And now another layer of spruce. And we're going to place this piece on the outside, just so that we get that fan effect, and also so that you get that repetition all the way around, but it is slightly different as we've now got spruce on the outside of this piece. You will have these two items in your traditional and your frosted kit. The only difference between the two is the skimmia or the asparagus fern, so either a red foliage or a silver foliage. So in this demonstration wreath we have our skimmia, which is our traditional one, so I'm just going to show you how to attach that in the same mechanics as we've done with the tree ivy and the spruce. Now I've reduced a couple of pieces down into a bunch and we're binding them on. And as you can see, we're always gradually moving the stems further and further down the wreath ring. This is so that you continually get that pattern all the way around, rather than them bunching too much in one space. We want to give them that space to move all the way around. And as you can see here, we've attached our skimmia and now we're on to attaching another piece of spruce. To the edge again, just so you've got that really lovely fluffiness all around the edge as well. There we go. Now, as I've just shown there, what we wanted to do is by bringing the pieces out on the side, you can slightly angle them down so that we hide the depth of the frame, because we don't want that seen. So by angling them, you're just wanting to make sure that all areas are covered. So like what we're doing on the inside, where we're bringing the smaller pieces in, you want to do on the outside so that you're bringing the larger pieces on the outside so that they are covering those mechanics once again, and you're not going to see the frame when you maybe look at a side profile of the wreath. Now going in with my tree ivy again, it's really important to remember as well that you always go in one pattern, in one direction, because if you began to do it in multiple directions, the stems aren't always covered, and you tend to find that you lose your natural rhythm of the motion of making the piece, so to speak. Now adding some more spruce all the way through. And the nice thing with this is once the foliages are bound on, you can then go on and tweak the leaves if you want it to, you know, sort of wiggle a little bit over to the left or to the right. That's absolutely fine, you can do that. There we go, and adding some more of that gorgeous skimmia in. So with the frosted foliage as well that you would have in your frosted selection, you want to do the same method. So cut a few of the brackets off, and you can place them in clusters. Or if you're happy to place them just in one stem, then that's absolutely fine. I just think you want that visual impact, and that lovely silvery texture, whitey texture of the fern will give you that all the way through. But so as we're placing our skimmia, you will be placing your asparagus fern. And then the other materials you will have the same, so that's absolutely fine. Placing some of the tree ivy on the exterior now, just so that you can get that really lovely variation all the way through. And just giving that a wiggle before we attach it, so we know it's just where we want it to be. And then binding on 3 times. Continuing to add our spruce all the way, which has got that really, really lovely Christmassy scent to it as well. So you're probably really starting to get a smell of that now and get some lovely sense of Christmas coming through. Now it's really important when you're adding your spruce to do some different sizes throughout, because if you had really, really large pieces all the way through, it can become quite overpowering and can look quite odd in some way. So like we've just done here, we've added a larger piece on the outside to give it that fan shape we want all the way around, and then you can keep your smaller hand pieces or even the individual sort of fingers, I tend to call them, for the inside as well. And another point of going in one direction, the reason that we advise so much is that as you continually add the new stem on top of the old, it binds in the previous stem even more so that you will be continually adding almost like an additional pressure to keep it on the wreath, so that you're adding that additional security all the way around as you keep on adding those layers of lovely, lovely foliage. And don't be afraid to pull the reel wire really, really tight. It's really important. There you go, so just trimming some smaller pieces to use, which are perfect for the inside of our wreaths. And there's sort of an example of a larger piece that we're going to put by to use on the outside. So add some more of this gorgeous red skimmia. And I tend to make a bunch of, say, 2 to 3 heads, and we can add that through, because if you had too much, it might be that it's not evenly dispersed, but you can do it however you like. As I said, you might want all the red at the top or all of the red at the bottom, and likewise with your fern as well. It's completely down to yourselves how you want to do this. There we go, and now taking some smaller pieces just to hide the mechanics on the inside. As you've seen, I've used a larger piece on the outside, and now just bring those smaller pieces on the in, but always staggering them all the way around. This way you're ensuring that you will travel the whole foliage design throughout. So now I'm just going to add in some more tree ivy. Got some lovely bundles to sort of cut your stem a bit if you want to get a couple of pieces to add on in a collection. It might be that you have to sort of trim one stem down into maybe 2 or 3 pieces to get a really nice bundle, as sometimes one stem can be quite overpowering, but just trim it down to get a perfect bundle for you. And then attach. You can see here that the shape is starting to take place. We have had some people that like to do just half a wreath, so as you can see sort of from this shot that it gives you that idea. You may want to put the bow at the bottom or put the bow at the top. It's completely up to you how you want to decorate and design your wreath. Just giving you all the possibilities and the techniques of how to do so. I also, you'll see that every time we place the foliage in the design, we are trimming the stems. So it's just so that you don't have too many long stems just coming off the side of the wreath, because that's all pieces that you have to cover and hide with your mechanics. So it's really important to just give them a little trim, just so that they are not too long, and once again you've not got something else to hide and cover. So it's just about keeping that same neat pattern all the way through. Now, if you have any other additional foliages that maybe you wish to add from your garden, then by all means, but just think about them, adding them throughout the design, or unless you want to place them in a concentrated area. So if you have maybe eucalyptus, or you had some different pittosporums or different ivies, that sort of thing, that's absolutely fine. But just think about the repetition factor. So here, as you can see, we're going very clearly spruce ivy skimmia. So on that pattern, if you're going to introduce a fourth element, then just consider placements and have you got enough to maybe stretch over the whole wreath, or you want maybe a concentration of that at the base or near the bow, that sort of thing. Then add those in, but we want to add them in the same mechanics. So create your mini bunches and bind them in as we go, adding them on this continuous bind all the way. Now here you can see why we use the smaller pieces on the inside, because if we use larger pieces, you wouldn't have that definition of the wreath ring in the centre. So by using the larger pieces on the outside, it makes the frame appear wider, which is always brilliant for what we want. And on the inside, we want to create almost a very neat circle made up of our foliages. And sometimes you can see that when we're placing, it might be that you have to try a few different pieces of spruce or ivy or skimmia or your ferns to get the right piece for the right area. As you saw, I picked up a larger piece and actually thought it was too big for that particular area, so then I've gone in with a different piece. It's really important to just think about looking at the visual balance of your wreath ring. Is that piece going to really throw the rest of the piece off when we place it? Now that we are getting to the end part of the wreath ring, you can now see that we are adding those final pieces in. So we're adding our last piece of skimmia, and we will just pop some tree ivy in just to break up that last area. It's really important that you wiggle the pieces together, so to speak. So you almost want to be able to move that initial bunch forward so that you can get in more foliage throughout, as it would look odd in comparison to the rest of the wreath to just have spruce sitting on top of spruce. So it's important that we keep up that continuous pattern all the way through, and we want the tree ivy inserted in there also. Now we're just going to add some pieces of tree ivy in there just to break up that last piece. Now it's really important where I've bent this forward, just so that we can get it in the right position rather than just laying it completely on top where it would flatten. We want it to keep that lovely elevation all the way through. So bend your previous stems forward and bind behind. As I mentioned before, if we bound on top, you would then begin to flatten that lovely foliage that we've worked hard to keep in such a nice fan shape. So now you can see that the wreath is finished. We have created the foliage part of the wreath design already. Now if anyone is unsure sort of just on the beginning parts where we started and you did want to go back and bind over a couple more places, this is the best time to do so, where you can go over and rebind. Just once again taking in consideration though those areas where you may just need to bend some of the wire up, the foliage up so you don't catch it with the wires. Now I'm going to tie off my bind wire. So we're just going to go over once more, making sure that everything's pulled really, really tautly. And then just as you can see there, we've just sort of moved some foliage forward so that we didn't catch it in our reel wire. Now, leave yourself a little bit of length on the reel wire once you've secured everything. Turn your wreath ring over, and now you want to loop the reel wire through the previous loops that have bound all the foliage on. So it's just a case of tucking it underneath and popping it through the straw. If it goes that way, that's absolutely fine. And just slide it through and it comes out the other end. And you can just see here, just picking it out the other end, and that's getting really nice and tight now. And you can see where I've just pulled that, and I want it pulled really, really tightly before we tuck it into the straw, so you know it's going to be really lovely and secure. And that's it. So now everything is really secure on your wreath. Nothing should fall off. And that is the first part completed. We have our foliaged wreath complete, whether it be traditional or frosted. Now then, for the second part of our wreath design, we have our decorations. So now that we've completed the foliage element, we've got a combination of decorations to complement. Whether it be traditional or frosted, I will talk us through both of these. In both kits we have some lovely pine cones that we've got here. There are either orange or lime slices through your kits. We have some cinnamon sticks, and of course a lovely velvet ribbon to complement. Now I'm going to show you how to wire each individual element, and then we can attach them all together. Now to start by attaching your pine cones, you need to take one of the green stub wires in your box, and then we're going to use one of the lower layers to just wind the green wire all the way around back to the starting point, and then twist on itself. And you can see here where we continue to twist, I'd say probably 4 to 5 twists. Get it really nice and tight, and then bend that down, and you've got a perfect leg ready to insert. I'll show one more time. So we take the green stub wire and bend it around the bottom parts of the cones. You can almost sort of wiggle it, you'll feel it wiggle between each layer in the open parts, and then take it back to the beginning and twist the green stub wire on itself. So you want one shorter piece that's twisted and one nice long leg that's going to go into our wreath. Now with our orange slices, you can either layer them on singly or you can do them in bundles. I'm going to do a bundle of my orange slices. So take a couple of your orange or lime slices and some more green stub wires. Now you want to pierce through the more softer fleshy part of the slice, and I would say probably a quarter of the wire going through, and then bend the wires up to create another set of legs, and do the same process again. Twist. When you've twisted them tightly enough, they shouldn't really move. You should get a very slight movement in them, but not where they're going to flop all over the place. This is perfect for your wreath. And once more, so we take a green stub wire, pierce through the 2 or 3 orange or lime slices, bend the legs up, and twist. You can use pliers if you find that this is too hard on your fingers. Now the cinnamon sticks will come pre-bound like this, as you see in the video, and then what we want to do is to add the green stub wire through. So take a green wire again, about a quarter of the way through, and bend the wire up. And then twist. Really tightly on this one, as they're a slightly heavier item than things like the slices and some of the other decorations. And now we're going to work on getting the rest of the decorations prepped.
so now that we've finished our first part, where we've made our first fully foliaged wreath here, what I shall now show you is all of the elements that we have in the box and the kit that you will find. So we have a selection of different pine cones in there, a selection of really lovely sort of dried scented oranges, some cinnamon sticks as well that we can wire, and obviously our gorgeous velvet ribbon. So what I'm going to do is show you how to wire each different element, and then once they're all wired we can attach them onto our wreath. So you'll find a selection of green wires in your box. I'm going to show you how to wire the pine cones. So you take the bottom end of the pine cone and we're going to wiggle the green wire all the way through the lowest point of each individual sort of piece of the pine cone. So you wiggle it all the way through until you're back round at the beginning, and then you twist the wires on themselves. So you create that really tight void there, and it gives it one leg for the pine cone. And I'll show that again for you guys. So we take the pine cone and your green stub wire, and then we wiggle each bit of the wire through the base of the cone. You can go up or down, doesn't matter, as long as it meets back at its original green stub wire, and twist. And that'll give it a really tight frame. So we've got a couple there of those that we're going to do. With our orange slices, you can put them in individually, so have one slice dotted all the way around, but I prefer mine to be in clusters. You should find that you have a range of sizes of orange slices in your box. I like mine overlapped, so you pierce once again with your green wire, holding the orange slices like this, pierce the wire straight through, then bend them down. Probably I need to go a third of the way through on the orange slice. So you've now got two legs, and then the shorter leg twists once again like our pine cones onto the longer leg. There we go. So you can just see there that they're nice and secure, a little bit of movement in them, nothing too rigid that's going to cause them to break. And our orange slices are together. So we'll do that again. So we've got two more orange slices here. Overlapped once again, pierce the green stub wire through, about a third of the way through, bend it over, and then the two wire legs can twist. And then you've got yourself a set of the orange slices wired. Now with our cinnamons, they are already pre-bound for you guys in a natural raffia. And then just to be able to get them in again, taking some more of our green stub wires, place them underneath the tie points that you've got there, and bend them, and once again we're going to make those legs, and we're going to cross them, and twist the legs, like so, on the cinnamon, and then we've got a set of legs for the cinnamon to go through our wreath. So do this to all of your pieces, just so that you've got everything ready to wire to decorate your wreath. And I'm just going to wire my pieces here, so we're ready for the next step. And then I shall show you how to create that gorgeous bow as well. So like I say, just wiggle that through. Sometimes they're a little bit tough, but you'll be able to get your wires through. Pulling them nice and tight once again, so they're not going to go anywhere when they're on our wreaths. Start to get those lovely smells of the cinnamon and the oranges. Those real Christmassy smells. those wires and ready to attach. Move that out of the way. I'm going to show you how to make your bow. Okay, so I pre-cut the length of ribbon that you'll need. Okay. So as you can see, I've just straightened the ribbon out there from where it's been in the box, and I've got both the legs in each hand. So I cross the legs over like so to make the iconic breast cancer symbol. Okay, so you can now see that we've got that there. And at this very point at the bottom, I begin to pinch this piece here. So we just want to pinch the bottom part of the ribbon currently. And it's got a wire in it, so you will be able to shape it afterwards as well. So don't worry. You can just see there, we just secure the bow to the wreath. And take another one of our green wires, and you place the wire through the centre of the bow and bend one side down really tightly on this because we want the bow to keep its shape. And then we've got two legs there on the wires and cross. Now I always take the longer leg back over the front again, so it wraps around twice, and then twist these legs together like so. And you've got a really strong bow there. Now you can shape this if you like. If you prefer longer legs and smaller bows, then by all means just pull it through. Now that you've got it secured in your wire, it will hold its shape. So we can do this for you. Okay, you just tweak those around. So now we've got all of our pieces ready to decorate our wreath. Cool. So now that we have everything ready, wired and prepped, it's now time to place them on our wreaths. So each design is completely up to you. You don't feel that you have to follow the same pattern that I've gone to. You can do whatever is down to you guys, really. So I always like to have a bow at the top. So I'm taking my bow here, and as you guys know, we've got our green legs ready. Move this all over. And I'm going to place our bow just to sit at the top, which perfectly complements that beautiful skimmer. So now to attach our items to the wreath frame, you want to push the green wire all the way through the straw base. It can get a little bit fiddly, but just keep persevering. And then hold the wire quite close to where you're placing it through, and it'll be a bit easier. As if you hold it too high up, it just tends to bend. So this is a little bit easier. Push the wire all the way through. There we go. And now that sits really nice and flush, just on the top. When you're happy with your position, and as your wire has gone through, like we did with the real wire, bend the green wires and place them back into the straw wreath. Really nice like that. There we go. So now that's held in place, and you can obviously now sort of play around with the shape of your bow and so on. Now we're going to repeat the same technique for all of our attachments. So think about your placements if you want groups or product clusters. So if you wanted a collection of cones maybe, it's completely up to you. I'm going to place my cinnamon first, as I've got two of these, and then I shall work around the rest. Trim that wire. And I'm going to place one of my cinnamons just on the inside. Such a gorgeous smell on these as well. So just pierce that through. Pierce that right the way through. And then, as we said before, bring your green wire back around and pierce through. If you find that you've got quite a lot of length left on your green wire, do the same as we did with our real wire and tuck it through some of the other lengths, just to really secure those wires into your wreath frame. There we go, that's the first cinnamon placed. You can always move your foliage around after, so that it doesn't look like it's squishing anything too much. Now I'm going to do those opposite. do the other one over here. Send that through all the way. Have to be a bit forceful with these, but they do go through. There we go. Put that one in. And once again, tucking those green wires into the back of the frame. Now I'm going to add my orange slices. I've done one cluster of 3, which I thought would go really nice at the bottom, and the rest are 2s. But once again, you can add these in. You can add these in singly, you can add them in doubles, however you like. And that's the beauty of the kits, that you can make them to suit your pattern and your design. Cool. Now if this happens, just straighten out your wire and it'll be ready to go back in again. It's just where I've caught something and it's bent up. You just need to wiggle that through. And tucking my wires always underneath in the straw base. Okay. And there. Now as our skimmer is our focal foliage, I don't want to do too many decorations on top of the skimmer, as I really think it's important to show that off. So I'm working around the skimmer with different colours, so like the oranges opposite the reds. I still want those to be seen, not too much, but I think it's important that it is seen as it is a different colour and texture. You can just see there where we're starting to work those through. And then a nice trio to sit at the bottom. You find you do lots of moving around on the wreath, but it's always good to look at it from above. You get a really good idea and a clear idea on your placements as much as anything else. Now all of our oranges are in place, and now I'm just going to begin to add some of our pine cones. I'm doing a mixture of our pine cones. Some are going to be singular and some are going to be in small clusters. Once again, so we've got varying sizes, so it's really nice to be able to mix that up. And then we've got 2 smaller ones down here. Sometimes you might find that you just want to turn your wreath up to look at it from another angle. Oh, that's why I wasn't working. all bent up. Just to find where those stars end up. Okay. That one. You can just start to see it starting to take shape, and we'll just add in a couple more pine cones around the edges. And now looking down at your design, you can now begin to tweak any areas that you wasn't sure of, move any little bits about, and with the bow to get that real finish that you're looking for. As I mentioned, if you wanted to add any other pieces that you maybe have in your garden or that you've collected Christmas decoration wise that suit the colour palettes, then do so. So now here is the final product. Okay. So now you can just start to see the finished piece here. There we go. Now we have all of our complementary foliages mixed with oranges, cones, cinnamon, gorgeous velvety bow, and lots of other pieces. And this is the traditional Christmas wreath. And I wanted to say a massive thank you for joining us. And obviously you may have made the frosted wreath at home as well, so we can't wait to see those. If you have any questions, then obviously feel free to message us. And I can't wait to see them hanging on your doors. Make sure you do tag us as well at Flowers Boju. And thank you very much. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye. Perfect. So I thought I would just show you a couple of the other pieces and how to wire those for your frosted design. So as we've gone through the traditional wreath decorations and how to wire them, I'm just going to show you how to wire some of the gorgeous pieces that we've got in for our frosted one also. Okay, so we've got these more sort of muted sort of greys, whites and green colours going on. So we've got these lovely sort of hanging elements. So the same principles as before. We want to take a green stuff wire, take the wire through the decoration, bend it down, and then twist the two pieces together to create those legs. So nice and tight on there so that the star isn't going to go anywhere. If you want, you can cut the twine off. Some people have also hung the stars at the bottom of their wreath, in the inside. So it's completely up to you how you'd like to use your star best for yourself, really. So that's the stars that we've got on the design. And then we've also got these really lovely wooden cutout trees as well. So we once again do the same principle. Now, depending on which part of the tree you want showing on your wreath, if you want the top part, then I suggest you wire the base, or you could wire one of these sort of tree points, just so you can see the main bulk of the tree in the design. And once again, wrap the green wire around and twist to give it some legs. Just like so. And then, as I said with the stars, you can either cut off the twine, just so you've got a natural tree, or you can keep the twine attached and maybe hang from the centre the wreath, or maybe have a couple hanging on the bottom, which might look really lovely and elongated the design. Now you've also got this gorgeous grey ribbon in there too. And the same principle as we did with our red burgundy bow, we would like to cross over the legs after the bow. Now this one isn't wired, so it will be a tighter attachment that we need, but it will still work just as fine. So crossing over the legs of the bow, pinching this first part together, and then joining the pinch at the top part of the curve. Pinching them together like so. And then you can bring that together like this, and holding the pinch in your hand. Using our green stub wire once again, placing a third over the top and the rest at the bottom. Bend that over. And then I always go around once again, as we did with our burgundy ribbon. So you've now gone over to the ribbon twice and twist, a really, really tight twist. As I mentioned, we don't have a wire that goes around the edge of this ribbon. So the tighter the pinch in the middle means that it will just keep that lovely shape that we want there on our bow. So you can see I've left the legs slightly longer. I'm just going to trim that so it matches. So that matches really, really lovely. So we've got our ribbon